Hi, this video is to whoever may be struggling with epilepsy, such as myself, and hasn't really necessarily found anyone who can speak with them and share their opinions on what it's like living with epilepsy. There's many videos on how to treat epilepsy. There's many videos on people who are having epileptic seizures. But there's not many videos on people who actually suffer with epilepsy. And that's what I'm here to do. Just want to talk about my personal experience dealing with epilepsy. In my case, I suffer with both tonic-clonic seizures, which are the full body shaking seizures, which is the most common one, and as well focal point seizures, which are seizures in which the person will just be staring off into the distance, not quite knowing what's going on, not being aware of their surroundings, and unresponsive to people. So what I'm going to do is break this down into numerous parts. This will be part one, and it's just detailing everything that led up to my seizure, post-seizure, what could have triggered it, and the numerous seizures I've had since then. I will be looking down quite a bit because I've written a list of things that I want to talk about. So this first well, it's not really an episode. This first part is basically about the very start of my seizures. So going back to 2017, it was January the 21st. My brother was getting married on that day, and I was the best man. Now, I didn't quite fully come to grips with just how much that entailed. I wasn't fully prepared for it, but needless to say, there was a lot of work involved. The day before, because we had the wedding in a castle, so the day before, I'd spent most of the night preparing the castle, getting everything ready, and helping with the decorations and the flowers. So I got to bed around about 4 o'clock. Then at 7 o'clock, I woke up and carried on with the whole wedding day, which involves being with the groom, helping with other tasks, including being at the wedding. Then come the after party, the meal, the after party, giving the best man speech, dance floor, and just in general, just being very busy all the time. Then the night time, when everyone else had either gone home or gone to bed, me and a couple of other friends that were there had stayed up talking, drinking. I managed to get to bed for about 4 o'clock. So I've done 2 days in a row where I've gone to bed at 4 o'clock. And similarly, I woke up at 7 o'clock the next day. So on the 22nd, I woke up at 7 o'clock. Now, this wasn't anything new to me, because in the past I'd suffered with a condition called sleep paralysis. Now, sleep paralysis is where you wake up in the middle of the night, you're unable to breathe, you're unable to move, and a lot of people say that they have hallucinations of someone being in the room with them. Me personally, I just couldn't breathe and couldn't move. So more often than not, getting a couple of hours sleep and that'd be a good night. So I was used to this. When I woke up at 7, I got into a shower, went downstairs, and went for a smoke. I'm a smoker. whilst I was having a smoke, I had a tremor in my whole body. Now again, if this was something that was new, I would have been worried, but because of my past experiences with sleep paralysis, I've experienced quite a lot of tremors, so I just attributed it down to that. So after smoking, after the tremor, I went back inside. I went to get some breakfast. As I walked in, my grandmother and grandfather were already sat down at the table eating their breakfast, and we were the only people in there. I took my coat off, put it on the back of the chair, and my granddad, as I walked to get some breakfast, my granddad made a comment in regards to the breakfast, in which I turned around, at which point, that's the last thing I remember. So what happened from eyewitness accounts was, this is staff and my granny and grandfather, and my mother as well, she was there. What had happened was, I collapsed in the dining hall. It's the first time ever having any symptoms of a seizure or anything like that, so I collapsed. Started to convulse on the floor, started shaking. A worrying sign was I stopped breathing. And just generally it was a pretty, as first ones go, it was a pretty bad one. By which point my mother or my grandmother had phoned for an ambulance. The funny fact is of this story is though that my mother's mum, my nan, she had epilepsy all her life, so my mum's been around it, so she knows how to deal with it. My uncle, who is my granny's son, has epilepsy, so she's been around it all her life. And neither one of these two helped me in any way, shape or form. The minute I went down, they both started panicking and they both started losing everything, and no one could really help. In hindsight, it is pretty funny. I mean, at the time it was a bit dramatic, but yeah, I digress. And so the ambulance came for me, just lying on the floor, receiving medical attention. When the first responder got there, then got the other ambulance to come and get me, I was taken to the hospital. As again, by this point I'd woken up, I was speaking, don't remember any of this. This is all, again, eyewitness accounts from people that are telling me. I was able to walk over a bridge to get to the ambulance. Whilst in the ambulance, someone actually came in. Don't remember any of this. The first recollection I have after hearing my granddad asking me a question was I woke up in the hospital in a wheelchair. Now it was just complete timing that this happened, but because my mother and my grandmother came with me, and my grandmother left to make a phone call, and my mother had left to go to the toilet. So I woke up, and my first reaction looking around this hospital was, oh no, who's hurt? Someone's got hurt. So as I'm looking around, I'm thinking, oh, what's happened? And I looked down and saw that I was in the wheelchair myself, and I was like, oh wait, it's me. Yeah, so it's pretty funny that my first concern was for someone else, not realising that it's actually me that's the one that's injured. So I get wheeled off into a separate room. While in a separate room, the doctor checks me over, makes sure my heart and everything is good. Everything was fine. They sent me on my way. That day I got home, and it was the first time in, I believe, 4 years that I had slept for more than 8 hours. Excuse me. In actual fact, I had slept for around about, I think it was about 15 hours that I slept for that night. The only problem is that when I collapsed in the dining hall, I got a cut on the back of my head, which needed stitching, but I think because it was a busy day at the hospital, I think they just might have missed that. The only other concerning fact was that they hadn't given me a MRI scan. Now, for people who recently experienced epilepsy in an elderly age, such as myself, at the time I was 23, 24, something like that. If you suffer with epilepsy at that age, it more than likely is something to do with your brain, aka a brain tumour. So the first thing they should do is rush you in for an MRI scan. At the time, I think a lot of things were just going on, they forgot to do one. Needless to say, the next day I received a phone call and it's like, yeah, we need you to come in and get an MRI scan immediately, sort of thing. So I was like, okay, went straight in, got my MRI scan. Scan my brain. It might have been a CT scan. I can't remember which form of scan it was. It was either MRI or CT scan. Scan my brain. Brain's all clear. Which then started a whole new process of different doctors, different specialists, going to this hospital, going to that hospital, just in general trying to figure out what was wrong with me.